Let's talk a little bit of decoupling, dependency injection, and inversion of control in Quarkus. So we have a greeting resource. If you saw a previous video, we created a book resource. We won't use it at all. So let's get back to our greeting resource and actually let's remove everything that we created here, which we don't need. Let's stay with the hello, and then actually let's remove a path as well. So currently what we are doing right now is let's actually create a proper greeting service. Let's create a, I don't know, query param, right? I don't know, called name, string name, right? So this will give us, if we'll put, for example, hello, and then name Dmytro, right? Nothing will happen actually, but here you'll have this variable from like Dmytro. So let's put it like hello. Actually, let's make it like string format. Hello, and then as your ID is string. I have name and then UID random to string, right? Like this. And let's create like this. Okay, so right now when we, is it working? Yes. When we call this function, it will give us back hello Dmytro, your ID is blah blah blah, right? So that's cool and all, but let's remove the token as well, we don't need it anymore. That's cool and all, but you're doing logic, some computations inside the resource, which is basically just a proxy between your logic and the view which you'll return, and that's not correct. So the good way to do it is to create a service, and we can create actually a package for them, service, and here we'll get a greeting service, right? So it shouldn't be exactly a service, but it's good name for something that will do some logic basically, right? You can create, I don't know, like seeder, you can create, I don't know, randomizer or whatever class, but like service is a nice name for something. So it will have a function, it will have a public function that will return string, and let's say hello, right? Then we have a string name, like this, right? And then we want to, again, string format, where I'll show just copy everything from here. Oops. Okay. So we'll give back basically same thing that we have here when we call a say hello function. But if you create, you can do it, of course, you can create a new greetings service, right? And then say hello and then name. This will work, of course, no problems. But you create, every time you create a new greeting resource, imagining a situation when you want to test this function, right? You want to test if, for example, you put a name and you have a hello exact name that you passed, and you want to compare it to string, the result of this function, right? You want to compare it to some string. And because you have, every time you have a new UUID, this will give you something random, which is not what we want, right? So that's just an example, right? So that's a large problem with the outdated software, that you have, you initialize some classes, some objects inside of functions, which is super painful to withdraw them from this function to test something. Because imagine if it will connect to database and you're running a unit test, right? how do you remove it from the method? Because when you call the method, it's automatically creates a new connection to a database, like the worst case scenario, right? And queries some data. So in this case, that's where dependency injection and inversion of control goes. So what we can say is that our service will be application scoped, and it just says that this will be in a scope of our application, basically. So with this, what does it actually says? There's no use to whatever. So with this, this means that we have some space of our classes, of our objects, which contains currently a book resource and then a greeting resource. And now it also will have a greeting service, basically. So they will be all available with the dependency injection. That's like super simple description of what's going on with it. So with this, what we can do actually is, let me actually make it a little bit larger so you can see the application scoped, right? And we have a say hello. That's actually not a great way to create a service. A great way to create a service is to create firstly an interface for it, but it's more for optimization of the service. So when you restart, where you refresh something, you don't need to recompile class. But that's not that's not in the scope of this video, right? So what we can do here actually is we can create an inject. In Spring you use auto-wired. In Java EE you have an inject. And so you can specify even in private that you want to have a greeting service called greeting service, right? Right now you can see if you use the IntelliJ IDEA, you can see that it automatically wires it within the IDEA, so that you can know. So it's just a helpful thing to have, but yeah. When you use this class next time, when you start the server, this will firstly look at the dependencies that it has and inject them. So in case we'll start our Quarkus, right? At first it will look that it has a dependency for a greeting service. It will create a new instance and insert it right into our greeting resource. So with this in mind, what you can do right now is call greeting resource, say hello, and then pass a name. That's it. So with this, we optimized our greeting resource so it doesn't have any computations, any logic, because that's a large problem when somebody starts to not following the MVC in some sort of way, where you need to have some separation between the logic and then how you pass the data to the users. So, and it's a good idea to keep resources as little computations as possible and pass your logic further to the services, so it will compute, do some hard stuff, basically, right? So yeah, so it doesn't, yeah, so it's good. The service is a good name. It shouldn't be exactly the service. You can name it whatever you like, but service is it's like a sticky name that you can use. So let's check if it's even working, because I'm saying so many words. So let's see. Hello, Dmytro. Don't look at the body. Your ID is blah blah blah. So you can see that we actually created a new service that does this work for us. And later, when you'll test your application, you can swap this greeting service with something, with a mock, for example, right? Which will have always the same UUID, for example. Or you can have other application scope that will provide for you a UUID, and then you just can the same way inject something like UUID provider, for example, right? which doesn't happen, but you know, like you can have any injection here. And for example, you can say use a say hello, and here will be ID of a user, and you'll have here injection of the database, right? Like the repository. You get the user, get his name, get his UID or something like this, and return a hello, Dmytro, your ID is blah blah blah. So that's super simple understanding of dependency injection. One thing that you can also do is not the dependency injection, but to create a bean. But I think we'll keep it for the next lecture. This is yeah. So this is like super simple example. Now you know how dependency injection works in Quarkus, and I'll see you in the next lecture.